Welcome to Drone Manthan 2024. And without officially starting the session, I'll request everyone to kindly rise up for the national anthem, please.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, we are thrilled to welcome everyone to this prestigious Drone Manthan 2024. And this gathering is of the brightest minds of the drone technology, as well as the innovators who have gathered in this for this very pertinent event. And today we are in fact extremely honored to have Mr. Amitabh Kant, the G20 Shaper for India, with us as our chief guest. And PhD CCI has meticulously curated this Drone Manthan so that we are able to understand the nuances, the intricate aspects, as well as possibilities of drone technology. So without any further ado, I'll request Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal, our President for PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to kindly start the proceedings with the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Shri Amitabh Kant ji, G20 Sherpa of India, Lieutenant General Vinod G. Khandare, PVSM, AVSM, SM, Principal Advisor, Ministry of Defense, Dr. Ranjit Mehta, Executive Director, PhD CCI, members of Managing Committee, industry captains, startups, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, I would also like to welcome Mr. Piyush Srivastava, Senior Economic Advisor, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India. Good morning to you all. As we delve into the discussions and insights that will shape the future of drone technology in India, it's my honor to extend a warm welcome to a visionary leader and a stalwart of innovation and progress, Mr. Amitabh Kant, G20 Sherpa of India, to Bharat Drone Manthan 2024. Mr. Kant, with his exemplary leadership and relentless pursuit of excellence, has been at the forefront of propelling India into the global stage, making significant contributions to the economic and technological landscape of our country. Mr. Kant has been instrumental in driving pivotal initiatives that have not only fueled India's growth trajectory, but also laid the foundation for a sustainable and technologically advanced nation. Today, as we embark on discussions about the future of drone technology, its application and its potential to transform industries, agriculture, healthcare, and more, we are privileged to have Mr. Kant amongst us. His insights and foresight into the integration of technology with development goals promise to enrich our deliberations, our path towards embracing innovation for the betterment of society. On behalf of the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry and all the distinguished guests present here, I extend a hearty welcome to Mr. Amitabh Kant. We are eager to hear your thoughts on how India can navigate the future of drone technology, fostering innovation while ensuring sustainability and inclusivity. Let us all make the most of this remarkable opportunity to learn, collaborate, and envision a future that is uplifted by technology and innovation. Thank you, Mr. Amitabh Kant ji, for inspiring us to look beyond the horizon and strive for a future that is transformative and boundless. Once again, on behalf of PhD CCI, I welcome you all to this summit. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir, for laying the foundation of Bharat Drone Manthan 2024. And with this, I'd like to invite Mr. Amitabh Kant, G20 Sherpa of India, for giving his keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal, the president of PhD CCI, Mr. Saket Dalmia, who's earlier been the president of PhD Chamber of Commerce, distinguished colleague, Lieutenant General Vinod Khandare, who's done some path-breaking work in many of these areas, Mr. Piyush Srivastava, Mr. Ranjit Mehta, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first compliment the PhD Chamber of Commerce for organizing both this exhibition and this Bharat Drone Manthan and making India a global drone hub in Amrit Kal, which to my mind is a very, very critical task, because India is aspiring to be a leader in Industry Revolution 4.0. Our aim, as we've grown at about 8.3% plus in the last quarter, our aim is to be a $35 trillion economy by the time we become 120 in 2047. The Prime Minister has extensively spoken about Amrit Kal period and how India must become a developed economy, and this really requires us to grow at rapid rates of 9 to 10% per annum, year after year, for 3 decades or more. And this growth has earlier been achieved by countries like Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, in recent times by China. India has also grown, but we've grown for a relatively short period, for 5 to 6 years. And the challenge is now to accelerate the pace. Now, having carried out structural reforms, having carried out digitization, having undertaken major initiatives in many key areas of growth of infrastructure, I think our aspiration is to be a leader of Industry 4.0 and our target of being a major global hub for drones by 2030, because many of these new areas, when we get in, we start importing, and we start importing the end product. We then don't manufacture, we don't do component manufacturing, and then we became importer all through. And therefore, it's very important that to become a global hub for drones by 2030, it will help us to boost our GDP by 1 to 1.5%, and it'll add close to about 5 lakh jobs in the coming years. And it's also important that in the rapidly evolving world of technologies, drones are not merely confined to the realm of surveillance and recreation. Unmanned aircraft systems, they offer tremendous benefits to almost every sector of the economy. They have a huge impact on agriculture, as we'd seen the Kisan Didi outside who's using drones. They have a huge impact on healthcare. They have an impact on infrastructure for better management. They have an impact on emergency response, on transportation, on geospatial mapping. They have a huge impact. They have an impact on media and entertainment, law enforcement, and national defense. And drones will have a huge impact in disaster management, mining and mapping, tourism and entertainment, and all across India. If India is to grow at rapid rates, drones will have a huge, huge impact. And to my mind, the potential of the drone industry in India is immense, and the government has tried to support it by the production-linked incentive scheme, which is restricted to just a few sectors. But drone was brought in as a special sector so that we can have a thriving startup ecosystem in the drone economy. So if you look at the drone sector, the annual sales turnover has grown from about 60 crores in 2021 to about 500 crores in 2025, and we should be reaching about 1,500 crores in the next 2 to 3 years. But the global market, you look at the global market, that will reach about 55 billion. It's a $55 billion market by 2025, and it'll be a $100 billion market by 2030. Yeah, and if it is a $100 billion market by 2030, India must aim to take at least 10% of the share. That is, make itself a minimum a $10 billion economy in the drone sector. So the scheme of PLI is targeted both drones and component manufacturing in India, and it is part of a broader strategy that includes liberalizing export policy for drones so that we become an exporter of drones and we support farmers and self-help groups with drone technology. Apart from the PLI scheme, we have the Kisan Drone Scheme, which provides incentives, which provides subsidies and financial assistance to farmers to buy drones to monitor crop health and spray fertilizers, and a range of other positive initiatives such as the drone type certification scheme and Drone Shakti have increased drone adoption across industries, and they've all created a conducive environment for drone manufacturing in India. And therefore, this particular PhD Chamber of Commerce initiative of Bharat Drone Manthan is very well timed. It's very well timed because the key factors which will play a very critical role in making India the drone hub by 2030, if you look at it, are the ease of doing business, the drone rules which were brought in 2021, which played a major role. Then there was huge complexity earlier, which has been simplified. There's been demand creation through financial incentives of PLI. The government has played the role of a market maker by procurement by government. We've done export liberalization and domestic industry promotion through the Make in India initiative. Now, it's important to say that we've taken the lead in 5G technology, and 5G technology has significantly enhanced the capabilities of autonomous drones. Traditionally, drones have relied on less dependable point-to-point links, and they tend to lose signal intermittently during flight. But 5G technology, because India has taken the lead, you will be able to access 5G on the drones, and that will be key. But there is a huge potential of the drones, and we realize in the government, we realize the potential of drones in transforming a range of sectors of the economy such as agriculture and healthcare. And regulatory frameworks have been streamlined to encourage innovation while ensuring that there is safety and there is privacy. The liberalization of the drone laws and the introduction of the Drone Sky platform was an initiative to manage drone traffic in the Indian airspace, and that is a testament to the government commitment to fostering a conducive environment. And by offering incentives on incremental sales, the PLI scheme is attracting significant investment now in this sector. My view is that while the segment has seen 300% growth in investment over the past 3 years, it is still at a very low base, and therefore we need to make a quantum jump. Like we've done in mobile manufacturing, the next big spurt of growth must happen in drone manufacturing. The advent of Industry 4.0 is actually characterized by automation and data exchange in manufacturing technologies. And to my mind, drones equipped with advanced sensors and artificial intelligence will facilitate the collection and analysis of data in real-time basis. They will enhance decision-making process across industries. And the integration of drones within Industry 4.0 it will enable us to drive inclusive growth in India. That will ensure that benefits reach even the most backward and the most aspirational districts of India. And to my mind, the drones taken to many of these backward regions of India will help us to transform these areas. To my mind, the startups are critical. Much like many other sectors where startups have done disruption, the Indian drone startups are not only focusing on manufacturing, but also developing software solutions for drone operations, analytics, and service delivery. And it's very important that we start fully manufacturing both the drones and the components here. And the startups will play a crucial role in addressing India's logistical challenges by deploying drones for last mile deliveries, especially in hard to reach areas, and that will help us to improve supply chains and reduce delivery times. My view is that the application of drone industry is very critical. We've seen this in agriculture. Drones are being used for precision farming. This has enabled farmers to increase crop yields while reducing costs. The Kisan Drone Scheme provides incentives, subsidies, and we would like that these farmers are able to use this to monitor crop health and spray fertilizers. The government has also rolled out a very, very major scheme to provide, with Prime Minister's own commitment towards the scheme of providing over 15,000 self-help groups headed by women, one of whom is represented here in the exhibition, and I would request all of you to go and interact with her, headed by women with drones, and that is Drone Didis. That is, we'll support 15,000 self-help groups headed by women. The self-help groups would be able to provide these drones as rental services to farmers for agriculture uses. And the farm Didis, I was just checking up with her, she's able to get an earning of over about 5,000, 6,000 rupees a month. So that's on 5,000, 6,000 rupees a day they were doing. So that's a huge earning to my mind. The healthcare sector also sees drones delivering essential medicine and vaccines to remote areas. We have huge logistical issues because we are a very large country, but if we are able to use drones, we'll be able to ensure that medicines reach the right place. Actually, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has approved a pilot project in collaboration with the Telangana government, and there the project aims to explore logistic routes for the secure and precise delivery of healthcare items in remote areas through the use of drones. Now, infrastructure development benefits from drone through aerial surveys and monitoring, significantly cutting down project times and costs. And I visualize that the Border Road Organization, the National Highway Authority of India, or for the Hill Area Development Program, the Border Development Program, the border villages, all of them will employ drones as we go along. And therefore, the integration of drones in logistics, supply chain management, infrastructure, in cold supply chains will unlock new growth opportunities and ensure that we are able to create world-class infrastructure, we are able to do timely deliverable of perishable goods in due course. The way forward, to my mind, is that the focus area for the Indian drone industry will be on developing indigenous manufacturing capabilities. Focus on Make in India and significantly reduce reliance on any import of technology. This is no rocket science. This is no rocket science and can be easily done in India. The goal should be to build the most innovative and competitive products, not just for India, but also for the world. And integrated drone ports in future cities will revolutionize all these smart cities being built by the National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation should have drone ports, which will revolutionize logistics, agriculture, healthcare, and will foster enhanced connectivity, efficiency, and resilience within our sectors. Therefore, my view is that with the objective of Make in India, there's a need for a conducive environment for research and development in very close collaboration with our academia, industry, and government. There is still a lot of work needed in improvement of battery technology to yield solutions for extending flight times and faster charging, addressing critical challenges in drone endurance. The payload capacity is vital for drones, explicitly designed to attach additional equipment of sensors, limiting their usability for specialized applications. And therefore, enhanced payload capacity is crucial for expanding the scope of drones applications. I would also like to stress that obstacle avoidance and navigation, that is enhanced safety features such as obstacle avoidance and precise navigation systems are needed to maneuver drones safely in complex environments. This will minimize collision risk, is paramount for expanding drone applications. And going beyond standard cameras, the integration of advanced sensors is crucial to cater to a wider range of functionalities and operational needs. Drones with diverse sensor capabilities can offer more versatile applications. And quality assurance is, to my mind, non-negotiable for mission-critical applications. We must, when we are doing Make in India, we must ensure that we are world-class. We are the world's #1 in manufacturing. And therefore, drone manufacturers should adopt a very holistic approach encompassing very rigorous testing, continuous monitoring, and robust validation process while developing products and solutions. And I would also say that integration of sensors and 5G in drones revolutionizes their capabilities. Drone manufacturers should adopt a holistic approach encompassing rigorous testing, continuous monitoring, and robust validation processes while developing production solutions. And lastly, I would say that integration of sensors and 5G in drones revolutionizes their capabilities. Advanced sensors will provide real-time data for precise mapping and environmental monitoring. With 5G connectivity, drones can transmit large volumes of data swiftly, enabling seamless communication and enhancing their effectiveness in application ranging from agriculture to surveillance and disaster response. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also say that there's a huge role of artificial intelligence, robotics, and cloud going forward, and the advancement of AI, robotics, and cloud will see drones becoming intelligent flying robots. We are talking about autonomous and precise flight patterns, real-time data analysis, and superior decision-making in any environment through artificial intelligence. This is all frontier technology, and India must champion this. Cloud-based platforms can provide a centralized hub for scaling drone operations, making it easier for teams to collaborate, track flights, and manage regulatory compliance. These technologies will enable new use cases such as rapid and accurate delivery services, frequent and automated inspection of critical infrastructure, and precision agriculture at scale. Therefore, my view is that there is a need to create a huge environment that encourages research and development. It should reward innovation and create an Indian intellectual property ownership along with financing mechanism to support all the drone manufacturers, particularly startups or MSME companies working in the sector. I would again like to congratulate the PhD Chamber of Commerce for taking the initiative. This is the first chamber which has come forward to launch a drone, Bharat Drone Manthan, and it shows its commitment to the sunrise areas of growth and for driving many of the schemes of the Government of India in this cutting edge areas. So my compliments, and I wish PhD Chamber of Commerce all the best and all success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for your impactful words and also being an exemplary leader for fostering innovation and growth in the drone sector. Before sir leaves for meeting, I will request our president and our immediate former president, Mr. Saket Dalmia, to kindly felicitate our chief guest with a plant and a memento, please.
मैं चल रहा हूँ सर आपके
संजीत तुम बैठो ठीक नहीं लगता बैठो
Thank you.
So that was in fact such an important keynote session, and we had the privilege and honor to listen to Shri Amitabh Kanji in this very, very important Bharat Drone Manthan 2024. Now with this, I'll request our distinguished speaker for special address, Lieutenant General Vinod Singh Khandare ji. He is PVSM, AVSM, SM. He is the Principal Advisor to Ministry of Defence. Over to you, sir, for your insightful address with the august audience, please.
Jai Hind to all of you. My respects to all the dignitaries on the stage and off the stage. And it's really heartening to see a full auditorium, and especially after this topic has caught the imagination of the entire country. And again, my compliments to the organizers while we are talking of the organizer as a chamber of commerce, but frankly speaking, they are the pioneers to be leading towards what the Indian Prime Minister's vision is. The political will has been very clearly outlined, and efforts of each and every one in this path or in this journey have to be together. So when a Chamber of Commerce organizes and gets everyone together, it's an indication that we are understanding what is whole of nation approach. While I talk to you about the topic per se, let me indulge in giving my small little suggestion to the organizers, and I'm sure it will be heeded too. When we look at a new vision, we look at a new journey, then we have to chart out waypoints towards that. And in our waypoints, one of the factor is convergence. And in convergence, a little bit of tinkering with the organizations and the charter is also essential. So like Chamber of Commerce, when I looked at your entire details of how you take members, you have ordinary members, you have professional members, you have association members. I have a small little suggestion right in the beginning. Could you also look at startups as members? They may not be able to pay what you charge otherwise. They don't even have the turnover. Okay. So please put it on the website also, because there are a whole lot of startups here who would want to be members. And secondly, beyond the startups, there is another community which gets neglected, is those researchers, the R&D people. They are also one of those who need a lot of support. They need a lot of hand-holding. And more important than that, what they are doing at least should be known to the people who are setting up industries. Because when we talk of Atmanirbhar, if we are trying to do what the world is doing today, we will take time. What we should be looking at, what the world will be like by 2047, what the technology will be by 2047, and the research has to be positioned in a manner that research today looks at what services we'll get by 2047. It's not a 1 year or a 5 year plan, it is a long journey. And in that journey, the West has already taken a major lead, and we have to go beyond the catch-up stage, and we have to say, okay, somewhere I will go beyond. So that is one thing which I had. The other point is regarding drones. Excellent theme, excellent event which is being organized. So here in the entire day's events, while I looked at your entire schedule, I find very interesting topics, empowering topics, because you're looking at what the Civil Aviation Ministry has to say, you're looking at what the legal provisions have to say, you're looking at what financial issues will be encountered. So to that extent, it is a very comprehensive package. Maybe there will be more which will emerge during the discussions that we see. And again, in the list of panelists, extremely good selection of speakers. I think the organizers need to be complimented towards this end. Another important issue which, and most of the issues have been already highlighted by Mr. Amitabh Kant, and I worked closely with him, especially when he was in Niti Aayog, and I find him to be one of the erstwhile bureaucrats with a very open mind. And while we as advisors, and advisor here on the stage, Shri Piyush is also there, it's a challenge for the advisors to get our ideas through to the political hierarchy as well as to the bureaucrats, which have to match up with those who are all involved as stakeholders. But there is always fun in trying to succeed. And when we succeed, we look at the various granules in this entire fabric. So you have think tanks, you have foundations, you have researchers, you have startups, you have bigger industries, you have integrators, and this entire thing has to be smoothly brought together. Now, what do I mean by bringing smoothly together? So if you see, the policy needs to bring out our best at the earliest, but at the same time, a longer journey also has to be seen. Somewhere in the policy, if we try to say that everything will be indigenous right from day one, it may not be possible. So there are critical sectors where we lack capability. But as we keep moving ahead, our course correction has to happen in the policy and in the provisions. Other ministries are also doing it. I'll give you an example of the DOT. In DOT, the policy which is already there is that you will take help of those countries or those companies which are labeled as trusted partners, and the products are also labeled as trusted products. Why is that important? We all realize that we have certain vulnerabilities and handicaps in our hardware sector. And if we do not look at that hardware sector carefully from the strategic implication of security, then the business of growth and development at some stage can always be hijacked. So like I see peace, harmony and development, one more pillar there is security. So while security cannot be taken as something which pulls you back, but security ensures that in the long run you are still in the race. Otherwise, somewhere down the journey, our entire ecosystem can be brought down to a paralytic stroke. You know, there are countries where because of cyber, the entire country has come to a standstill. Say, for example, Estonia in 2007. Who attacked them? Who held them to ransom? Nobody knows till date, because this is non-attributable and totally deniable. Can the same thing happen to the drone sector? Of course, it can happen to the drone sector as well. So when we are looking at growth and we are looking at development, the issue which Mr. Kant brought out is the safety standards, the testing. There can be no compromise on that. Can such chambers of commerce also encourage testing centers to be a part of it? Why not? If that is given a backing, we don't have to be running across our borders to get testing certificates, nor do we have to depend on fraudulent testing centers. I think we'll have to be very honest in our integrity that this is not a question of selling, but it is a question of building our national capability. So that is what is extremely important. Why is drone so important to us? You know, drone sector, while it is a sunrise sector, it is something which is extremely important for the agriculture, for roads and transport, it is important for railways, it is important for civil aviation. While I stand here as a Lieutenant General, it is extremely important for our border areas also. Now, our Prime Minister says that our border areas should not be neglected, because Chanakya has also said that a nation which has its borders developed, secure and prosperous will always withstand designs from the adversaries. So when the Prime Minister said that please stop using the terminology of the last village, when he went to Mana and he stayed the night there, he said that is our first village. And where do you neglect your first village? But we have neglected our first village. I come from Garhwal Rifles and I am come from the troops whom I command are from Uttarakhand. Believe me, there has been depopulation of the villages which are right on the border. And look at China, they didn't have population on the border, but they are populating the villages on the line of actual control. So we have a dichotomy. We civilizationally were there on the border and we are coming down because our border population wants better life. Drones are a solution to a large extent, along with the digital and physical road connectivity. If you encourage people to stay there, but how do you encourage? Their provisions have to reach there, their products have to come out. The faster we grow our logistic drones, the better will be our situation along the borders. It will help the security system, it will help the civil population as well. We have very peculiar requirements from the armed forces. We have people who are positioned at altitudes of 18,000 feet, 20,000 feet, 24,000 feet above sea level. They stay there because we can comfortably live here. How do we maintain them? I have been on Siachen Glacier in 1987-88. We used to carry our requirements on our back, 10 kgs, because you can't carry more than that. We have to climb the ropes. And those ropes are when we are wearing the mountaineering gear, crampons, ice axe, and we carry that and we climb up at night because we don't want the Pakis to hurt us. Is the situation going to be the same? As of now, it is the same. Can we bring in technology to overcome the geographical hardships? Yes, of course. What kind of requirement is there for such logistic drones? It is the same as required by the civil population which is residing in the forward areas. The drone has to have a powerful engine which should be able to withstand the altitude challenges. It has to withstand the wind currents. Are we there? We are not there. Can the services and can the states give such challenges in the form of problem statements? Of course. So here there is an integration which is required, that the user has to give a problem statement in just one page, A4 size page, in the language which the industry understands, in the language which the scientist or the developer or the innovator understands. I may be a military man, but my language, the designer will not understand. So again, there is a convergence which is required, and such ideating sessions are important not only to listen to people like us, but to talk amongst each other. And that is when, very correctly it is mentioned, network tea or network lunch. It is to sit across the table and talk, exchange your credentials, and then again subsequently meet. There are experts who will talk about the continental security challenges and the development challenge. There are maritime experts. Admiral Ghormade is here. He is one of the leading people who talks about maritime security. Because today, while we look at our challenges along the northern borders, the day is not too far when we will be looking at maritime challenges from all the three sides of the seas. Our identified adversaries are not going to let us live in peace or tranquility or to grow at a level where we start challenging them. So these challenges to our prosperity, growth, development will always get factored, and that is where our interaction for both these pillars has to be constant. Our designing factor, our standards, our testing, everything has to take into account the external threats and the internal threats. Why did I say internal threats? If you recollect, our previous CDS, General Bipin Rawat, always used to say that we face a 2.5 front threat. Two front, everyone knows, China and Pakistan. But that half front which is residing inside, which includes certain sleeper cells, which includes all the kinds of challenges which you can't even dream of because you're living peacefully, that will emerge at a critical moment, and that critical moment, the national resilience has to stay put. The national resilience can only stay put if you have quality. The Prime Minister has said that we are looking at the women who should be able to repair, maintain, upgrade drones and also fly the drones. So that is bulk of our population which should be involved in this sector. So we have a population 1.4 billion. What is important in that? How technically skilled are they? How strategic culture works on them. It is not only about making profits by white labeling products which you get from outside, but extremely important is what you develop here. What you design, develop and manufacture here, and thereafter the entire ecosystem is full of indigenously produced. There may be certain items which today we may not be able to produce. Say for example, there are sensors which we may not be able to produce, but there are certain other things where the encouragement has to be done. One of the most critical factor will be the engine. We have been looking at various countries for collaborating on engine manufacturing in India. We have looked at various models. Earlier we were totally dependent on transfer of technology, and we realized that the person who's giving you this, he never gives you the entire technology. He keeps a screwdrivers away distance and you are continuously dependent on them. And then we looked at a model which is called the joint venture model. So like BrahMos is one, AK-203 is one. These are joint ventures. And this is a model where we are into co-ownership. There's no question of licensing. There's no question of royalty. So while the country is going through this journey, the chambers of commerce, the think tanks and the foundations also have to look at providing studies to the government so that the policy correction is also made accordingly. The organizers have given me ample opportunity to speak during the day. There are 2 more sessions where I am going to speak. So I will conserve my rest of the points for those sessions. Thank you so much to the organizers as well as to the audience for having very patient listening. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, General Saab, for a very, very visionary perspective and also a very sort of deep commitment you have, particularly for our security sector. Your words, in fact, says everything. And as you know, sir, advised by you, we will definitely look for having some forum or some committee for researchers also, because that is the need of the hour. We do have a committee on startups, and it's our pride to say that last year when India hosted G20, there was also one of the verticals by the name Startup 20, and PhD Chamber was the program directorate for Startup 20 under G20 umbrella. Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to invite our guest of honor for special address, Shri Piyush Srivastava. Shri Piyush Srivastava is the Senior Economic Advisor at the Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India. Over to you, sir.
Distinguished people on the dais, Lieutenant General Vinod Ji Khandare Sahab, Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal, Dr. Ranjit Mehta, Mr. Dalmia has left, but he was here, Mr. Michael Jain and Dr. Jitinder Singh. After the detailed exposition by Mr. Amitabh Kant and the insightful speech by General Khandare, it's always a challenge to say what we need to do, because everything that had to be spoken has already been spoken. But the positive aspect is that I can pick and choose what I want to speak about, and I can restrict it because of the time constraints, so I need not speak much and give my throat some rest and maybe give you time to have tea also. Well, as is amply clear that we are witnessing a revolution in the skies, the drones. Mr. Amitabh Kant said in the morning that by 2030, the global drone market is going to be 100 billion, and we should aspire to have at least a 10% pie in that, which I think should be the bedrock of our dream of being the global drone hub. Unless we have that share, we cannot actually even start calling ourselves as aspirants for that goal. But drone tech, the beauty of this technology is that it is relatively low. It doesn't have many entry barriers, or the entry barriers are relatively low. And the second thing is that it has multiple applications. It was said in the morning that it is not just limited to surveillance and entertainment. It has various other applications. And the good thing about India is that India has found a fertile ground for the drone industry. So the drone industry is set to expand, and we already have an impressive number of startups and entrepreneurs who are fostering a culture of innovation and competition. The industry has in fact capitalized on many of the initiatives of the government, and it has worked in conjunction with the government, which is essential for the sector to grow. Swamitva was spoken about. It is the largest land mapping scheme in the project in the world. They plan to map almost 6 lakh villages under the edges of the survey of India. The highways and the railways have been using drones for the survey of land and also for monitoring the progress of the physical contracts. In the mining sector, it has been made mandatory by the Ministry of Mines that any excavation beyond a critical threshold has to be monitored by drones. Drones have found application in traffic management, disaster management was spoken about. And agriculture, of course, the Namo Drone Didi, the 15,000 drones that will be given to the women-led SHGs will not just transform the lives of these women, they will also transform the economy of these areas, because it has been found that the application of fertilizers as well as nutrients and insecticides is much lower when you spray it by the drones. So this is going to be a transformative thing, not just for the economy, not just for the society, but also going to contribute hugely to the growth of the country. And again, I'll harp back to what Mr. Amitabh Khan said. I will do this a couple of times more because, you know, there's a saying in Hindi, the हाथी के पाँव में सबके पाँव होते हैं. तो अमिताभ खान साहब ने जब बोल दिया तो everything that needed to be said, I suppose he is already covered. But as far as the government is concerned, the government as the regulator and the facilitator of the drone industry is very conscious that we need to put our best foot forward. So the first step that we took is ease of doing business. The drone rules were put in place. They, in fact, in many ways democratized the use of drones. There were hordes of applications that had to be filed, the hordes of permissions that had to be taken. We've brought them down from 25 to 5. There were various fees that had to be paid. We have brought them down to 3 now. You don't have to pay any other fees. The aerospace map has been published, according to which 90% of the aerospace in the country is green. You're free to fly the drones there. DigiSky was spoken about, but I believe that there's some work that needs to be done in that space. We are trying to bifurcate the activities into two parts. One is the regulatory part, which will be taken care of by the DGCA, which is the civil aviation regulator. And the other is the operational part, which will be taken care of by the Airport Authority of India. The government has announced financial incentives. The PLI scheme, although a very small scheme in terms of the magnitude of the amount that is there for the scheme, but it's a very successful scheme because of all the schemes that are there in the DPIIT portfolio, the 14 schemes. The PLI is the best performing scheme. We've already spent more than double of what was allocated to us in the first year of its implementation, and the second year also, we are likely to exceed that. So in effect, in the last 2 years, even as I speak now, my team in the office is busy and we'll be able to disburse 28 crore rupees by this evening, I suppose. So overall, we'll be able to spend almost 60 crores in the last 2 years that the scheme has been in operation. And I must mention that the scheme itself is just 120 crores. So we are very much on target, and the aspirations, the cup of aspirations is full. The government has also played the role of the market maker. As we spoke about the Smart Mitva and the drone Didi schemes, we purchased drones which creates a market for the drone industry and gives and spurs them on to manufacture more. Export liberalization is a critical aspect that we had actually touched upon, and it is actually an achievement that the SCOMET rules were relaxed. So the export of drones for civilian use was actually facilitated, which has also helped the domestic industry in a big way. And I have got commendation letters from the industry on this, so I can say it on authority. A problem of the drone industry is, as of now, is that we are not manufacturing much of the drones, not even all the components. But then the first step has to be taken, and we said that we will allow only the components to be imported, not the entire drones. So the import of drones is banned, but semi-knocked down and partially not knocked down kits are allowed. We need to move forward. We need to now consolidate whatever achievements we've had, and we need to build upon that so that we can actually become the drone hub. The first step, I believe, is not just the application and the use of the drone technology, but also the manufacturing of drones. The PLI scheme is just one aspect of it. There are other aspects. Yesterday, I had friends over who had spoken about the design aspect of the drones. I think design is an area that needs to be addressed for sure. And we need to have a clean sheet design also, because ultimately we can address technology in two ways. One is doing business as it is and trying to catch up with the others who is already ahead in the race. And the other is that we bring in some disruptive technology and actually beat them at their own game. This will only happen if we have a clean sheet design program in place. The big question that everybody is scared to answer is, how do we go about that? Where do we get the money for that? Where do we get the experts for that? The last question is answered easily because we have lots of experts here sitting in this hall itself. The financing issue is something that we need to work on. Financing can come from various sources. Yesterday, TIFAC was mentioned. There's some scope that available in the TIFAC that can be utilized. Then there are other sectoral schemes of various ministries which would address specific aspects of the drone components which can be leveraged. But I would say that now certain drone industries also have the financial heft and muscle where they can themselves leverage the funds and not depend on anybody else for their funding. I would urge them to actually do it on their own and also join hands with their fellow partners, keeping aside their competitive instincts for a while, in the interest of the industry and themselves. Because ultimately, if the market share increases, their share would also go up. The other areas that we need to address is, of course, the UTM integration. As of now, we are only looking at the drones, and the drones are working in isolation. The Digi Sky map is not dynamic, but when we see a proliferation of the drones, we would need to have a dynamic traffic management. This has to be integrated with the ATC sooner rather than later. And we also have to take into account that as of now, we are only looking at the drones, but there are also the eVTOLs. They are just around the corner. So when the eVTOLs also come in, this space restriction that we are looking at 400 feet for the drones would also have to be sort of relaxed for the eVTOLs to function. Now, eVTOLs will function somewhere in between the helicopters and the drones. Who manages all this? So to my mind, this has to be through the ATC because it has also got the expertise, but then it requires a lot of coordination between the defense and the civilian airspace managers. A related issue is about the BV loss. We get a lot of requests that BV loss should be allowed, especially for surveying areas which are otherwise very remote and not accessible for human beings to go, even if it is a power line or a survey. I do understand that this is very important and BV loss has to be done, but it is not going to be a reality till the time we can actually develop the capability of real-time monitoring and, of course, the UTM policy, as I mentioned, where it can integrate the entire airspace. An issue that was spoken about in the morning is about the quality. This is something that rests on the industry themselves. We need to be very conscious of the quality of the product that we give, not just to our domestic consumers, but also to the foreign consumers, because ultimately nothing is more important than your reputation. So we need to build that reputation. I didn't want to take any names, but since this is in many ways pitch for the Indian manufacturers, I would say that, till a very short while ago, the Chinese products were considered as inferior. They were considered as bad, poor quality. But they overcame this, and now the DJI drones are supposed to be the best in the world. So the quality aspect cannot be underscored more, and of course you are very conscious of this. Quality is not exactly a compliance issue, but it is an industry issue. But I would also address two compliance issues, which would have a bearing on the long-term growth of the industry and also a bearing on our dream towards being the global hub. One is about adherence to the permissions that are given. I recall a case where a permission was given to a particular operator to do flights for R&D. But he ended up delivering food items using that license. And this particular drone that was delivering the food items was also involved in a mishap. It crashed, and this whole thing came up in the newspapers. Then there was another case where this drone landed on a metro rail track. Again, this was transgression of the permission that was given to it. All these things, what happens is that then there will be a regulatory backlash. There will be a dig-in by the regulatory and the enforcement agencies, and that will only harm the industry. And you can't blame them for that. Once they see all these things happening, they are bound to give a pushback. I did mention about the DJI quality, but I would also hasten to add that that is something that we need to prevent. The DJI drones are somehow infiltrating the Indian markets, although there's a complete ban in the import of drones. Of course, it's the DGFT that has to take action and the customs authorities that have to take action, but it is also incumbent on the industry not to import. Please do not import drones and pass them off as your own. I'm not saying that this is an industry-wide phenomena. I won't dare to do that. There's a lot of good work being done by the industry. But even if it is happening in a small percentage of cases, it brings a bad name to the country, a bad name to the industry itself. And the worst thing is that it is sometimes palmed off to security agencies as indigenous. Now, this creates another aspect of risk because it can be manipulated by somebody else who is having the master control across the borders. So please ensure and help us in trying to prevent the import of drones into the country. Last point that I'd like to mention here is about the data, the information. We need to build up a database of all the dimensions of the drone industry, whether it is manufacturing, whether it's industry, whether it's the operations, because eventually it helps us in planning, and maybe if at all we decide to give in, to have another scheme of incentives or some other financial or schematic intervention, the information base, if it is robust, it helps us in planning and implementation also. I forgot to mention one point about the ease of doing business. There was one demand by the industry that the remote pilot license, or rather the certificate requirement, was conditional upon the person having a passport. We realize that most of the drones are actually used in the rural areas where the person who is going to use it will not even have the passport. So we have taken the necessary permissions, and the permission has been granted that the passport requirement for the RPC shall be removed. And the notification is in the works. It should be out in a week or two. It needs to be vetted, and all those processes are on. But there is also a requirement, a demand by the industry that the other aspects of permissions for D2 and D3 forms, where you have the UIN registration and the transfer of the UIN, there also the passport requirement should be done away with. This is a new demand that has come to us. We are working on this, and I'm sure with all your support and best wishes, we'll achieve that. I think I'll stop here because it's a time for tea. And before I end, I'll just mention that there is a limit of 400 feet for the drones, for the flight of drones. But the sky is not the limit for the drone industry. So I wish you all the very best. And my compliments to the PhD chamber for having organized this, and for all of you to be such a patient listener for the entire morning. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir, for your special address, and all the points that you have mentioned. They're very, very pertinent, particularly with relation to the regulations, related to some of the challenges, and also the role, how convergence has to play an important role in drone technology sectors. Very important. Thank you very much, sir. And before I invite Dr. Ranjit Mehta, our ED, for vote of thanks, I'll request Mr. Michael Jain, the co-chair for Civil Aviation Committee, and Dr. Ranjit Mehta to kindly felicitate our distinguished speakers with a plant and momentum from PhD chamber. Thank you, sir. I will request Mr. Michael Jain to kindly facilitate General Saab. Thank you very much, sir. Now I will request Dr. Ranjit Mehta, Executive Director, PhD CCI, to kindly give formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Jitendra. It is my proud privilege to give a vote of thanks to the distinguished speaker today, Mr. P.U. Srivastava, Senior Advisor, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Lieutenant General Vinod, in absentia, Mr. Amitabh Kant, G20 Sherpa, President PhD CCI, Mr. Sanjeev Agrawal, Mr. Saket Dalmia, immediate former President of PhD CCI, and all the distinguished people who are present here for this Bharat Drone Manthan 2024. And today I think the vision has been given that India should have at least $10 billion share in this drone market. That comes to around $2 billion from 2025 itself. I think these 5-7 months we should definitely prepare ourselves and we make sure that we achieve $2 billion every year starting from 2025 till 2030. That should be a goal, and with the kind of supportive policies that Government of India is having and the kind of requirement that door industry is providing to the industry, I think it's a great opportunity for each and every individual sitting here, the entrepreneurs, the startups, the young entrepreneurs who would like to come in this industry. And on behalf of PhD CCI, I would again like to thank you all, and I hope that you'll have a great session during the day ahead. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta, for your vote of thanks. In fact, we have an exhibition also which is laid down outside. Please visit all these stalls. They are all very, very promising ventures. And I request everyone to kindly join us for the networking tea, please.